Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Just wait for a few more people to join, inshallah. Just looking to check everything's working. And just bear with me 1 second, inshallah. Just checking that streaming is working. And we'll start shortly, inshallah. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the creator and the sustainer of the heavens and the earth. And we ask Allah to send peace and blessings on His final messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah to teach us what benefits us, and to benefit us from what we are taught, and to increase us in knowledge. Ameen. Thank you very much for joining us today. I want to have some interaction, so it'd be nice if we had some microphones on, even if you don't want the camera to be on. But that it'd be nice for me to know that you are you're here and you're benefiting, inshallah. So I've put the title of the talk today is Transform Your Quran Connection. Yeah. Now, if I can ask people to Assalamu alaikum, mashallah, Muhammad Hashim, how you doing? If I can ask people who've arrived, what's your expectation of today? What do you think we can do to transform our Quran connection? So how would you answer that? What would you say? So if each person could give me maybe one thing. No, it is, Bob. I just checked now, it is. If you check again, it's just started. I don't know why there was a delay, but it's just started. Let me know if there are problems. But I can see it on my screen. It's working on my phone. So just put it. If you don't want to say anything out loud, put it in the chat, and let's see what people have got. Because one of the things I'm very conscious of is that I'm not necessarily here to tell you this is what you should do. We're all here together, inshallah, benefiting from each other. So what would people say? What do people think we could talk about today? If nobody says anything, I'll just move on, inshallah. Yeah. Let me go to the chat. Okay. So I'm going to share with you this that I've got on the screen. Okay, can you all see that? Yes? Okay, brilliant. So, when we say transform our Quran connection, there's a few things that we can really try to work on. And I've got them on the screen here, yeah? So you've got tafsir of the Quran, which is a big subject. It's not something that it's like a lifelong thing that we do to understand the meanings of the Quran. But we've also got a translation as well. There's a really good translation which I like. I don't know if you is it close by? Let me just go and get it quickly. 1 second. This one. I don't know if anyone's got this one, but it's a really good translation. It's really nice, easy to read, by Professor Abdul Halim. So something like that, just reading that, yeah. But for me, and also tajweed as well, yeah. But today, what I'm going to do is focus on something else. I'm not going to focus on these things. I'm going to do something that I call milestone learning. Milestone learning. So I believe in education, especially for adults, we have to have, because we are in a dopamine infused society. What do I mean by that? Is that constantly we are being getting dopamine releases by when we're on social media, and we're getting notifications, and we're getting all these different things that cause dopamine release. When we comes to Islamic education, sometimes we set the road too long into the future. So you have to study for 5 years to achieve anything, or you have to study for 10 years to achieve this, or you have to do tajweed, you have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks, okay? What I'm going to do today's lesson is, by the end of today's lesson, you will have achieved something quite significant by the end of today's lesson. So what you have to do is you have to be patient with us to the end of the lesson, yeah? So if you can do that, inshallah, I think you will get a lot of benefits, and you will find today very, very useful. And what I'm showing on the screen, I will then send to you, inshallah. I can send it to you, inshallah, so you can benefit. So today I want to talk about the Arabic language, okay? And I want to cover what I have covered over several weeks in one lesson. So one lesson, we're going to cover everything that we what I would cover, what would take me much longer to do. But to do that, I just want to give a bit of a background, okay? So when we say Arabic, when Arabic during the time of the Prophet ﷺ was like this, okay, where there was no dots, there was no fathas, no kasras, nothing, yeah. And the Arabs, though, were at the level of the peak of the Arabic that they could understand this. So they could understand and they could read the Quran like this. It wasn't an issue. And then what happened is that it developed where they said, no, actually, let's put dots, let's put fatha, kasra, dhamma, also known as zabar, zir, and pesh. Yeah, hope that I pronounced that correctly. So to make it easier for people, let's actually put what they call tanqeet. So they would put all these things, yeah? And this was done to facilitate it for people, so that people wouldn't make mistakes, and it was done to facilitate it for people, yeah? Then someone came along and said, you know, the tajweed rules, rather than you having to work out automatically what the tajweed rules are, why don't we color the tajweed rules in different colors, okay? So then we had another development where the rules were colored, and you have each of the rules in a different color, okay? So you can see here, the qalqala rules, for example, are in light blue, yeah? So you can see here the light blue for qalqala. And that made it easier for people, because now, rather than having to remember that when the dal is one of the qatbu jad letters, and when it's silenced, you give it an echo. Now you just see that it's light blue, and you know there's qalqala. And with time, actually, what you'll notice if you use the tajweed Quran, actually with time, what also happens is you can read the Quran with tajweed, even if there's no colors, because it just becomes like something that you just sort of sense in the same way that we have with English, okay? Now, move on to the latest development, which I don't think a lot of people are aware of, because this is like a hidden resource on the internet, which, you know, those who have studied Arabic all say that, you know, it's a really good resource, yeah? So it's just about using it. So what's this resource? This is now where we color the Quran based on the grammar rules, yeah? The grammar rules. And by the end of today's lesson, in one lesson, okay, a clear milestone, we will cover 90% of what these words mean, okay? 90% in one lesson. And what hopefully that will do, and I'll also say to you what hasn't been covered, so that you can afterwards know what you've got left, what to focus on, and will give you that motivation and encouragement to keep going, inshallah, okay? So we're going to focus on this today. We're going to do a summary of all of these. Now, it's important that we don't look beyond that milestone in today's lesson. Why? In my experience, people get overwhelmed very quickly. Very quickly. They think, oh, there must be something that I'm missing. There must be something that surely this isn't it. This isn't it. There's something that's missing from what I'm talking about. Yeah, and that can hold us back. Yeah, we can think, oh, I've got a block, or I just don't get it, or all of these things are artificial barriers for holding us back from learning. Yeah. And what I'm going to do in today's lesson is use some really good techniques to help you actually learn these things without even thinking about it. Okay, so let's go through them, inshallah. Let's go through these the 90% of the Quran, the words that form 90% of the Quran. Yeah, what are they? Okay, so the first is you've got the big concepts, yeah, and these are what I call the big concepts because you can see. I mean, these are estimations based on Quran.com, which I'll show the resource later. 25,000 words. So like a noun here, for example, there are 25,000 nouns in the Quran. These are a good estimates, but they're not 100% perfect. Yeah, so don't hold me 100% to these numbers. But there's 25 out of about about 70,000 words, I think, in the Quran. About 25,000, which is a large number, are just nouns, and the majority of people know what a noun is. Yeah, a noun, a place or a thing or something. That's easy. A noun. Yeah. So we're going to come back to how we tackle learning nouns later on. But for now, for today's lesson, so to speak, let's just keep it really simple. Yeah, really simple. It is just what it shows here. It is just a noun. Okay. Proper nouns. The next one. Proper nouns are like names, for example. And the nice thing about proper nouns is that because they're names, people tend to know them. Yeah, like Allah, for example, Ibrahim, Ismail. They're not things that we need to quote unquote learn because we're just familiar with them. Yeah, Mecca, for example, is a proper noun. Okay, Quraysh would be a proper noun. And there's a good 4,000 proper nouns, and they repeat quite a lot in the Quran. Yeah, so there we go. Have another concept. We know just these two concepts. That's 28,000 words. Yeah. The next one, verbs. There's 19,000 verbs in the Quran. Everybody knows what a verb is. Yeah. And with the first two, we've now got just this one table, a very big coverage of all of the grammar that's in the Quran in terms of words. Yeah. In terms of words. And then the last one here is adjectives. In Arabic, an adjective is actually a noun. It's an Issam, okay? It's an Issam. But to make it easier for people who speak English, they've put it as like a separate, another color. But in actual fact, it is a noun. There are some specific rules to do with adjectives. But again, most people know what an adjective. An adjective is like a describing word, yeah? So you can see just these four concepts, we've covered quite a big milestone. We've covered 50,000 words. Okay, so that's something that we should celebrate. That in today's lesson we've achieved a milestone. We've achieved the milestone. Now, you probably didn't need me to explain that to you, but what you probably will have known from today's lesson is that if you go to corpus.quran.com, that it will color each word for you. So if we go back to Surah Al-Ikhlas at the top here, you can see here we've got a noun, we've got a proper noun here, okay, we've got a verb, okay, we've got two nouns here as well, a noun, so there's 4 verbs. So you can see you've already now understood Surah Al-Ikhlas from a grammatical perspective more than you did before, okay? But the question is, what about these other words? These other words. Can we get some understanding of these other words? Okay. So then we move on to what I call the big concepts. Sorry, not the big concept. I was supposed to say let's call it big concepts. I think I called that one big concepts. Okay, I've called them both the same thing. I was supposed to call these like the major concepts. Okay, so we can just rename that, inshallah. So what are the major concepts? So these concepts are, in my experience, that I can't assume that people know what, for example, a pronoun is. So the first one here is a pronoun, yeah? Or in Arabic it's called a dhamir, yeah? A pronoun is, and I'll explain about a pronoun, but just in terms of when we study grammar, when we talk about this next bit, sometimes people know these things, sometimes people don't. Okay, so in today's lesson, I'm going to assume that you don't know them at all. You don't know what a pronoun is. You know, it was a long time ago when you studied it, if you did study it, and now you've forgotten it, and I'm assuming that you don't know. Okay, so we're gonna work at that level today, inshallah. Yeah. But to help us learn what each of these concepts are, I've got a simple story here, a very simple story that will help not just explain the concept, but will also help you to remember it. Yeah, will also help you to remember it. And we're going to go through each of these stories today, so that you can get some understanding of what a pronoun is. So each time I give you a concept like pronoun, when I explain the story, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it now. Okay, so let's go through each one, inshallah. So the first one with pronouns is the story of a person who's at the park. Yeah. So the person's called Ahmad, and he's gone to the park, and he's with 4 family members, Abdullah, Maryam, and other people. But instead of calling people by their names, he says Abdullah. He asks, where is Abdullah? And someone says, Abdullah, he is near the swings. Maryam, she is near the slide. So these words, he and she, are called pronouns. In the Quran, whenever there's a pronoun, it will be colored in grey and will have the letters underneath it, P-R-O-N. Okay, P-R-O-N. To make it easier for you when you read the Quran with these symbols to understand it. For you to remember what a pronoun is, remember the story of the park, and if it helps, there's a little picture here. You can associate it with this picture, because memory works visually. So if we have a visual image, it can help us to remember the concept. Okay, so you might think, oh, okay, can't remember. I'll remember there was these kids playing in that picture. I'll remember it's the park. Oh yeah. So the story was about he, she, using those words when instead of using the person's name. Okay, good. The next one. Now, in terms of pronouns, there are 3 things that we have to also know in Arabic. Yeah, we have to know this idea of masculine and feminine, or to keep it simple, boy and girl words. Yeah. We need to know how to talk about 1, 2, and 3 items, and we need to know about first, second, and third person. Yeah. Now, masculine and feminine, boy and girl words, people don't have a problem with that. Yeah, because it's just something that every day we experience. Yeah. So that's not an issue in terms of boy and girl words. There's a bit more detail, but if you were to classify the pronouns in terms of boy and girl, you've got she for girls and he for boys. Simple, okay? And you'll have the same in Arabic as well, okay? The second thing is number. So in Arabic you've got 1, 2, and 3. In English you've got 1 and then 3 plus. Yeah. So 1. In Arabic, there's a dual. There's words we're talking about 2. We have 2, so that's why I've got here talking about 2 best friends. Yeah, because words sometimes in Arabic will talk about 2 items. Yeah, so you've got 1, 2, and 3, and 3 plus in Arabic. In English, it's 1 or more than 1. So in English, it's a bit simpler. But if you were to look at the pronouns, a pronoun that talks about more than 1 is antum. Yes, talking about a group. The third concept, which we have to know as well, is first, second, and third person. First, second, and third person. Now, this one is not something we come across every day in our life. So this one needs me to explain it to you. Okay, I'm not going to explain the other 2 because they're easy. But first, second, and third person. For this one, I've got a story about Afif. Okay, so Afif here is when he's talking about himself, we say he's talking in the first person. When he's talking to somebody in front of him, we say he's talking in second person. And when he's talking about someone who's not present, they're talking in the third person. So, in English, I is in first person. You, when I say you, we say second person. And then they, we say third person because they're not here. They, over there. They did this, they did that. Okay? Good. So that the pronouns is actually the longest lesson because we had to explain pronouns, but we had to explain these three things: boy and girl, or masculine and feminine, first, second, and third, and first, second, and third person. 1, 2, and 3, and then first, second, and third person. Yeah. So we have to explain those two things. Okay. But we're not quite finished with pronouns yet. So pronouns is the longest section. But the structure that we create when understanding pronouns, we actually use in lots of other places as well. Yeah. So it will help us in other things as well if we can just keep focused on the pronoun section. The remaining sections will get a lot easier, inshallah. Yeah. So in Arabic, pronouns can also be attached to the word. This confuses people. So you can see here that this is pronoun is actually attached to the verb. Okay? It's attached to the verb. So you will find that pronouns are not necessarily by themselves all the time. Yeah? And depending to what they're attached to will change the meaning. We won't go into detail into this lesson, but it's something for you to be aware of. If it's attached to a verb, it has one meaning, and if it's attached to a noun, it has another meaning. Okay? So it can be attached to. So here, this is attached to a past tense. Yeah, attached to a past tense. And then here you've got it's attached to a present tense. This one here. Yeah. So you can have that as well. Yeah. Okay. And then here it's attached to a noun. So this is an example of when it's attached to a noun. Okay. And this one is an example of when it's attached to a preposition which we haven't covered yet. Yeah. So that's quite long. There's a lot. But I'll summarize it. You've got nouns, a preposition, either it being by itself. Okay. Either it's by itself, and we said there's three things we need to be aware of if it's talking about male or female. First, 1, 2, or 3, and then first, second, or third person. And then we said pronouns can also be attached to verbs, past tense verbs, or present tense verbs. And it can be attached to nouns, and it can be attached to pronouns as well. Okay? Good. Okay. Whew. Hopefully that wasn't too much. Yeah? The next concept is this idea of the. Okay? So in Arabic, the is al. Simple. Yeah? And you'll see this all the time in the Quran. The. It'll be attached to. So an-nas means the people. And that covers so many words in the Quran. Just doing that one thing covers so many words in the Quran. I won't spend much more time on that because that's quite easy. The next one is conjunctions. What are conjunctions? Conjunctions are connecting words. When you connect two different words together, you connect them with a conjunction. And the story that I've given here is that it's the weekend and Layla's really excited. Her dad said that she can have a chocolate as long as she does this, and this, and this, and this. So the word to remember with conjunctions is the word and. Okay? And, or, there's some other words as well, but and is probably the most famous one. Okay? Good. How are people finding this so far? Is it good? If you could put me a comment in the chat, that would be useful, inshallah. I can see if people aren't falling asleep. Yeah? So we're going to summarize this. Just need to bear with me whilst I'll go through this list, because remember what I've said to you. I'm going to cover 90% in this lesson, and I'm probably only going to spend another 10 minutes on this. Okay? Another 10 minutes on this, and then that's it. Okay? Because I want to show you that this is feasible. Now, the next concept is prepositions. Prepositions. Sometimes people know what, in my experience, sometimes people know what a preposition is. Sometimes people don't know what a preposition is. Yeah? A preposition, the easy way to kind of think of it is the word itself, position. Okay? So conjunction is just connecting words, but there's a relationship between, when there's two words are connected with the preposition, there is a relationship between one word and the next. Okay? So an example in English of a preposition is in. So in connects words, but it shows you one thing is in something else. And another one is on. Something is on something else. Okay? So in the grammar Quran, they'll color it in red. Okay? And there's loads of prepositions in the Quran. There's 7,000. Yeah? So just by understanding that concept now, and the story given here is like somebody's asking for where his toy is. And they say, oh, it's on the table. It's in the box. Yeah? Just that one concept, you've now understood 7,700 words in the Quran. 7,700 words in the Quran, which is a lot of words. Okay? We've only got a few more left, and these are all quite easy to understand as well. The next one was what's called a demonstrative pronoun. Now we get into the realm of things that people aren't familiar with. Yeah? So you're not familiar with the term demonstrative pronoun, but you are going to be familiar with the words this, that, these, and those. This, that, these, and those. Yeah? These are what are called demonstrative pronouns. Yeah? Why they're called demonstrative pronouns? Because you're kind of demonstrating something. You're saying, oh, this, can I have this? You're sort of pointing at things. So the story we give here is of a child talking and pointing at the ladybird. Yeah? Oh, that's that. And there's two types of demonstrative pronouns. There's things that are close by, like this, and then things that are far away, that. These, those. Yeah? Simple. Keep it simple, because we understand those words in English. This, that, these, those. We might not have known they're called demonstrative pronouns, but who cares? Yeah? When you're reading the Quran on corpus.quran.com, it'll put the word dem underneath it. And there's 1,000 demonstrative pronouns in the Quran. There's a lot of them. Yeah? لإلاف قريش لا أقسم بهذا البلد لإلاف قريش إلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت. So it does come in the Quran quite often. Okay? The last few we've got now adverbs. And there are adverbs of time and adverbs of place. And it's colored in orange. And it's got a T underneath it, or it will have a lock underneath it. So lock means location. T means time. Okay? What's this? The story here is somebody's going to Snowdonia and the kids really want to know where they're going. So they're asking, where are we going? When are we going? So these words, when, where, how, these words are all what we call adverbs because they tell us about time or they tell us about place. Okay? And again, we've got 1,000 of these and 700 of those. And then the last one, would you believe it? We haven't even gone past half an hour. The last one is relative pronouns. Relative pronouns. What are relative pronouns? These are words which, that, and who. This is probably the hardest one to explain, so just bear with me. It's useful to understand the story for this one, to really understand it. Okay? This is where somebody, it's Eid. It's Eid. And a person's got a whole bunch of gifts. And they want to relate the gifts to their feelings. So what do they say? I loved the present that my uncle Ahmed gave me. It was amazing. Okay? Another one here would be which. I also loved the present which was given to me by my grandmother. Yeah? So, because we've used the words which, that, and who, but we haven't related the fact that it kind of links two things. There's a relation. Yeah? So in the Quran, we have Surah An-Nas. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ. Yeah? So we've talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're seeking refuge with Allah. Yeah? And then we have an ayah, min sharri waswas khannas, from the whispering that takes place. What whispering? What whispering? Alladhi, that whispering that takes place. Alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, the one that takes place in our chests. Yeah? So it kind of links those two sentences that those two ayahs together. Yeah? And there's a lot of them in the Quran. There's 3,300. So the total of all of that is 18,000. Yeah? So if you add 18,000 to the 50,000 that we had at the top, 50,000. Oops, didn't want to zoom in there. So we had 50,000 here, okay, for the big concepts, and then we have now 18,000 here. Yeah, that is 90% of the Quran, and we did that in half an hour. Yeah, half an hour. So what do you need to do? You can now go to corpus.quran.com, okay, and you go to the option here, word by word. Any ayah of the whole Quran, you just drop down menu, go to the ayah, and it will give you each word, and it will explain what it is: verb, pronoun, proper noun, noun, and it'll actually give it as an explanation for you here. Yeah. And if you're not sure of the concept, see, there's something called the Pareto Principle, which you might have heard of. Okay, the 80-20 rule. 80% of the benefit is from 20% of the concepts. You might say, well, how's Alfiya ibn Malik 1,000 lines of poetry talking about Arabic grammar, and you've just covered it in 30 minutes? That's because the remainder that we haven't covered is a lot, but it doesn't cover a huge amount of the Quran. So for the average person, they don't really need to worry about it too much. And it shouldn't be a barrier for you to prevent you from learning. Okay? If you focus on what we've covered today, you will have achieved something incredible. Okay? So let's ask the question then, what is actually left then? You know, I'm sure everyone's wondering what's left. So what's left is there are words we haven't covered today. Okay? The remaining 10%. There's a bit more to them. You can't just explain it as simply as I've explained the other ones. There's a bit more to them because they interact with other words. Yeah. So, and for example, inna is an example of one of them. Okay, that's inna by itself. 2,000. That word inna is 2,000 times in the Quran. Okay, so it does occur quite a few times. So the remainder, that's if you were studying Arabic grammar, you would spend a lot more time covering these words. Okay. Then we've now just done words, but we haven't done phrases. You know, when you put two words together, we haven't done sentences. When you string a number of words together, yeah. So that's what you would cover. So you would have phrases, sentences, also categorizing the nouns, and conjugating verbs. Conjugating verbs is when we look. How do we know a verb is talking about past tense, present tense, future tense? I mean, there isn't a future tense. There's a command tense. Okay, future tense. You go in Arabic, you just put a letter to make it future tense. Okay, so that would be a big. That's a subject by itself. Yeah. I've got this book here. This book just does conjugates like I don't know what's the number. Probably 1,000, something like that. At least, well, over 1,000, I would say. Yeah, over 1,000 words. So that's a big part of Arabic grammar to learn. When you just because in this what I've showed you today, we just put verb is green. There's nothing more than that. Yeah. Whereas here, you know, we're giving once you actually you can conjugate verbs. You can now just see the verb and you know what it means. Yeah. And then this is where the real fun happens when you do Arabic grammar. When you do what's called i'rab. Okay, you can translate it inflection, and the best way that I would explain what i'rab is in English, understanding the difference between the words I, me, and my. Okay, so in Arabic, now if you thought about it, you would say, we use I when I'm doing something. Yeah, I eat, I run, I sleep. Yeah. Me is used when something is being done to you. He hit me. He greeted me. he whatever, talk to me, okay? And then my is used for possession. When you possess something, that's my book. But all three of these are in the first person. All three of these have the same gender, same number, so that doesn't change. What's changed is like you could call it like a mood or a state, okay? So in Arabic, the I, we would say it has the rafa' state, okay? Me, we would say has nasb, and my, we would say it's in jar, okay? And now you open up a whole part of Arabic understanding this concept, okay? This concept. And then what they do is they bring it all together. So you can see that this is actually on Quran.com, where they connect everything together. So here's the sentence, what's happening to what? Because that's the goal of grammar at the end of the day, to really understand what's happening to each word, okay? So you can see the verb, you can see what's happening, what the pronoun is, and you can see here that it's all connected. And that's where you would spend a lot of time in Arabic grammar understanding the connections, okay? But we've achieved a significant milestone in just half an hour, which is from a words perspective, just understanding the words, yeah? You can now go away tonight and your connection with the Quran, I believe, will have been transformed, okay? Well, now, just from this session, will have been transformed because you can go, like I said, to the website. You can do that today. The website is, I'll just write it on the screen. Actually, you know what? Let me just zoom in. It'll be easier. Okay, so it's corpus.quran.com. corpus.quran.com, and any ayah you can start looking at it from the grammar. There is also an app that does this as well. It's called it's by Green Tech. It's just called Quran. And yeah, you can go into each word and it will give you the grammar. So I don't know if you can see that very well. So it actually gives you the grammar. It's back to front, I think. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. So it will actually give you the grammar of each word that you read. So whilst you're reading on your app, you can go and it'll tell you if it's and 90% of the words that you come across, you'll know what they mean now. Yeah, you'll know what they mean. So hopefully that was beneficial. So we had a comment, inshallah. So what I'd like, sister, if you can put in the chat which bit that you're still struggling with, because that would then we can have some back and forth, inshallah. So you can put it in the chat, or you can put your mic on. Don't worry, anybody who's attending on Zoom, you're not going to be on the YouTube. You're not coming up on the YouTube and stuff, so don't worry about that. But if you're not comfortable, just put it in the chat. So let me know which bit that you're struggling with. One thing that I learned from myself when I was struggling with Arabic, and I struggled with Arabic a lot, is that it's just a process of repetition. Okay, a process of repetition. But what we should start doing is looking at the Quran from a grammar perspective. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you read the Quran, you try and also see if you can understand some of the grammar. Okay, that we don't just restrict it to say just the tajweed or just the translation. Okay, because by doing that, we will pick up a lot of these rules and it'll become a lot easier. Okay. So I'd really be keen to hear your thoughts. It's very difficult when you're just speaking to a whole bunch of black screens. But at least if you put some comments in the chat, if you're too embarrassed or something, or you're in your pajamas or something, if you can at least put some comments in the chat, to see, because I don't know if that made sense. If people want this, so I'm going to put in the chat my email address. I can email this document to you. Well, actually, let me just. I think I just typed that to one person. Let me just send this to all. There we go. Okay. So if you email me, I can just email you that document. Summarizes it all in one place. The actual table that we've covered today, I'll tell you how many pages it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 pages. 6 pages for the whole Quran. Yeah, the whole Quran. So I really don't think it's difficult. You know, it's very, very, very manageable and feasible and doable. So then what you need to put as an ambition is that you move on to the next stages. Okay, you move on to the next stages. Yeah. Now, I believe that this should be taught to children. This is my personal belief. Is that I think that because children are actually learning grammar at school. Yeah, they're learning conjunctions. They're learning about prepositions. They're learning about. So it's just so easy to just incorporate. Okay, well, we have this in Arabic as well. And it makes the process of learning Quran more enjoyable and more rewarding as well. Inshallah. Okay. If there's no comments, I was hoping to have some interaction, but if there's no comments, we'll just leave it there, inshallah. I know there are people on the line, but it seems like either I confused you to death, or or maybe you're just a bit tired from the fasting. Yes, sister. Ah.
That was all really interesting, and I think it's something that I can definitely take away and kind of go through it in my own time to understand the Quran better when I'm reading it. But I guess it's more of a comment from Zakaria really, that he sometimes finds that he gets a bit confused in the classes and Arabic lessons. And I guess I just wanted to ask you if there's anything, what do you think that I can do to kind of simplify it for him, I guess? Because at the moment, in terms of kind of parts of speech he's learned at school, he's learned obviously nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. I've explained pronouns, but I think he still gets a little bit confused with them. So I guess I just wanted some suggestions.
So this is why is this Muhammad Zakaria?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the beauty of starting them young. Yeah. Because what I've seen as well is that children, I mean, even my own daughter, I'll ask her now what a pronoun is, and then she'll be like, "Oh, I don't know." And you know what's really difficult is that we speak Syrian dialect. Yeah. So Syrian dialect, we have pronouns, but we just change them. Okay. So for example, your house in Arabic is Baytul Ki. Yeah. So what do they do in the Syrian dialect? They say, you know what? Let's not put the ki at the end because that's too difficult. So we'll just do. We'll put that kasra, which I think is called azir. I think we'll put it on the letter before. So we say betek instead of saying baytuki. We say betek. So then she gets even more confused. Yeah. So, but if I ask her now, she won't be able to pick it up. Like she won't be able to just repeat it. So we are going to be doing a lot of repetition. There's one thing I've learned with kids. So in the future, what I've decided, whenever we have taught a new concept, we'll do a week with a new concept, and we'll do a week of revision, and we'll keep on rotating. So we'll keep on revisiting these concepts, because I'm seeing with kids in particular is that they just need so much repetition. There's one thing, my mum's an Arabic teacher, she's been teaching for decades now, and she's always said this, and I didn't really appreciate this before, but kids need so much repetition. And she just says so much repetition. But the big benefit is when Zakaria is doing some hifl, I think this is where it would be really useful. If there's an ayah, he's just not absorbing it, he can't memorize it, he's not getting it. That particular ayah, you could go to the grammar and sort of link the two subjects together. Yeah, so that would be really beneficial. That's actually that letter there is a pronoun. Yeah, we can't do that with all the ayahs, but maybe we could pick a, every so often. So when we're doing our hifz, we sometimes look at it from a ground perspective. Does that help, sister? Yeah. So to summarize two things, we're going to do a lot of repetition, and I don't think there's anybody who's like, there's some of the older kids who are really clever and stuff like, even they struggle with it. Yeah. So repetition and also linking it to the hifz, inshallah. Okay. So thank you. So someone's put a good question, inshallah, for me to read. So I can't remember him. I have to go back to my notes to recognize them. Yeah, so what you're mixing between, sister, is you're mixing between the fact that you're struggling and the fact that you're just learning. Yeah? So I don't think that's struggling. I just think that so why should we, if you think about it, why should we get anything first time? Yeah? So for example, when you're saying you're recognizing words that are masculine and feminine, one of the things that I wasn't able to do growing up, and I really wanted to do it, is when you have an Arabic book. So I'll give you an example. So this book here, they don't put the vowels in it. Yeah. And I used to go to classes sometime, and the teachers asked me to read, and I would read, and I would get it all wrong. Like I would put a fatha when there's a kasra and a dhamma. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. And I thought, this is like an impossible task, because what you have to be able to read, and Arabs don't appreciate. I mean, my parents are Arab, but I kind of grew up in this country. We didn't really read Arabic books. But what you don't appreciate as like for I mean, we have this in English. We just read. It just doesn't sound right. We have that thing where it doesn't sound right. If someone says something in English, if I said I hit they, that doesn't sound right. It should be I hit them. Yeah, but we don't. It just doesn't sound right for us. Yeah. So I used to think, how am I going to do? But what after years of practice, it just starts to come, and it's very satisfying. So the only thing I can say is keep doing what you're doing. Keep going back to your notes. Keep going back and checking things. Keep going back and asking these questions. Yeah. Why is it like that? Why is it like this? You know me. I'm more than happy if anybody ever contacts me with a question. I'm always I enjoy it. As long as I get around to it and don't miss it amongst the sea of WhatsApp messages, I would love to kind of help somebody, or I'd love that. So if you're really stuck, but one of the things my teacher really emphasized is that you go and you check the books. You go back to your and you check and that process of checking and researching, that's where you really learn a lot. Because that's when it sort of sinks in, that experience of going back. And I remember there's some things that I remembered because I remember not knowing it and going and checking, and that process really helped me pick it up, inshallah. So that's what I would say. But just keep on if it the difference between that and where you say it's just too much to grasp, where you're not understanding something. Yeah. So for example, like algebra. Yeah, you just don't understand the idea of x plus y equals z. You just the concept doesn't come. So we need to differentiate that. If it's that thing, if it's like that, you just don't understand it, then yeah, you have to ask. You have to ask and seek that clarification. Yeah. But most of the time, it's in the first. It's just sort of practice and memorization and going back and linking everything in. Yeah. I remember, like when I was growing up, one of the things that really helps me improve my recitation of the Quran is just playing the Quran, any reciter, and reading with them, and just practice. Yeah, and this is Ramadan as well. There's a lot of reward in doing that as well. Anything else? I'm not getting any more comments in the chat, so I'll assume. But how did you find that? How was it? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it too much? Sometimes when you try and keep something simple, and then the person says, "Yeah, that wasn't simple," you think, "Okay, I need to work harder at keeping it simple." Yeah. I mean, you've got like, there's like the famous example, Ihya Ulumuddin, which is like this big chunky book, yeah? You know, it's actually several books. And then there's the summary of it, of Ayyuha al-Walad, yeah, where Imam al-Ghazali like summarized in a really short book. And it's hard sometimes to summarize things, but hopefully I did a decent job with that. Okay. Yeah, I'm still thinking about that. Inshallah, what's the best way to do this? See, for me, doing too many assessments also can be a bit stressful. So I like the natural way of learning, just to see, because you know, with children, because they're starting young, there's no rush. You know, there's just no rush. That's why I'm really passionate about teaching kids, because with adults there is a rush. You know, there's all these intensive Arabic programs where you go in and you study like so much and so quickly, and you're leaving your family at home and you're feeling guilty, so you want to get the most out of the course, and there's all that kind of pressure. With kids, there's no pressure like that. You know, let it be natural, and just sort of easy. But I have thought about doing that, sister. So I'm considering it, inshallah. Yeah. So I'm seeing these. Recently, I've been thinking about, because that's one of the things I think about a lot. What's the best way to teach Arabic? Yeah. So, but potentially I could do what you're suggesting, inshallah. Anything else? Anything else? So if you've got my contact details, just reach out to me directly, inshallah. Hopefully that's been beneficial. Obviously, I don't know the faces behind the cameras, which is fine, obviously, but I'm hoping that you benefited from today, inshallah. Keep us in your du'as in these last 10 nights of Ramadan. Keep us in your du'as, and inshallah have a few blessed days, and hopefully you've benefited, inshallah. But we'll leave it there. Jazakallah khairan. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We'll leave it there, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.